In the small, secluded village of Larkspur, there was a well that had been untouched by time. Legend said it was not just any well, it could grant the deepest, most impossible wish to anyone brave enough to drink from it. But one morning, something happened that no one expected. The well ran dry. The village of Larkspur was a quiet place, with its cobblestone streets winding through rows of thatched roof cottages. The residents lived simple lives, with few luxuries to their names. Yet, there was one thing that kept their spirits high, a mystical well deep in the forest that was said to hold the power to grant wishes. The well had been a part of the village for as long as anyone could remember, and its water had never run dry. As the story went, if you approached it with a pure heart and made a selfless wish, the water would grant you your heart's desire. But on this particular morning, something was terribly wrong. As the sun rose and the villagers gathered by the well, they found that the once immaculate waters had vanished. The well was dry, its stone walls were cracked and the air around it felt heavy, as if it carried a deep, ancient sorrow. Among the crowd stood a young boy named Eamon, a boy of only 12 but with a heart full of curiosity and wisdom beyond his years. His bright green eyes reflected the worry of the village, but there was something else, a spark of determination. Eamon was not like the other villagers. While they relied on the well's magic, Eamon believed there had to be more to it. He had always felt that the well was not just a simple miracle, but a doorway to something much greater. As the elder spoke in hushed tones, speculating about the well's strange occurrence, Eamon couldn't shake the feeling that this was no accident. Something had happened, something hidden beneath the surface, and he was determined to find out what it was. Eamon made his way to the well, careful not to draw attention. The others were distracted, talking about the dry well with fear and confusion. With every step, the forest seemed to close in on him. The air grew thick, almost oppressive, and the leaves whispered secrets only the wind seemed to understand. Standing at the edge of the well, Eamon peered down into the empty depths. He could see nothing but darkness. "What happened to you?" he whispered, his voice almost drowned by the eerie silence that surrounded him. Then, as if in response, a low groan echoed from the well, sending a chill down Eamon's spine. The ground beneath his feet trembled, and the stone walls of the well seemed to shift slightly, revealing a faint outline of something hidden in the dark. It was a door. Eamon's heart raced as he carefully crouched beside the well, brushing aside the layers of dust and dirt. The door was old, covered in strange symbols, almost as if it had been waiting for someone to find it. His hands trembled with excitement and fear. What could be behind it? And why was it hidden here, beneath the well that was said to grant wishes? Just as Eamon reached out to touch the door, a shadow fell over him. He turned quickly, his heart racing. Standing in the clearing behind him was an old man, bent with age but with eyes that gleamed like the moonlit sky. His face was deeply wrinkled, and his clothes were tattered and worn, as though he had lived through countless lifetimes. Yet there was an unmistakable air of authority about him. "You should not be here, boy," the old man said, his voice low and rasping. "This place is not for the faint of heart." Eamon stood up, his curiosity getting the better of his caution. "Who are you?" he asked, his voice steady but filled with wonder. "What is this door, and why is the well dry?" The old man took a slow step forward, his eyes never leaving Eamon's face. "I am the keeper of the well," he said softly, "and the door you see before you is the key to a world beyond your understanding." He paused, as if weighing the boy's worth. "But be warned, the world beyond is not kind. It does not offer what you think it does." Eamon's heart raced. "I need to know what's behind it," he said urgently. "I need to understand why the well stopped giving its water." The keeper's eyes darkened. The well's magic was never meant to last forever. It was a gift, a curse, a promise, all bound together in one. But now the time has come for the well to reclaim what it gave. "Reclaim?" Eamon echoed, confused. "What do you mean?" The old man's face softened, and he took a step closer, his voice dropping to a whisper. "The well is not just a well, boy. It is a portal, and the price for its magic is far greater than you can imagine." Eamon felt a shiver run down his spine. The atmosphere around them had grown colder, and the leaves in the trees seemed to rustle with a warning. "If the well is dry," Eamon asked, "does that mean the magic is gone? Or is it still waiting to be unlocked?" The keeper's eyes narrowed. The magic is still there, but it cannot be used without consequences. The well must be restored by one who is brave enough to face what lies beneath. If you choose to go through that door, boy, you will find what you seek. But the price will follow you forever. Eamon took a deep breath, his mind racing. The village depended on the well for hope and dreams. Without it, they would lose everything. And something told him that if he didn't act, the well's magic would be lost forever. He looked back at the old man. "I'll go," he said, his voice steady. "I need to know what happened to the well." The keeper's gaze lingered on him, searching for hesitation. Finding none, he nodded slowly. "Then you must be prepared. The door will only open for one who is pure of heart but willing to sacrifice what they love the most." With a final, heavy sigh, the keeper stepped aside, allowing Eamon to approach the door. The moment Eamon touched the cold, ancient wood, a surge of energy flowed through him. The air crackled with magic, and the ground beneath his feet seemed to shift. The door creaked open, revealing a world bathed in a strange, golden light. But as Eamon stepped forward, the ground began to tremble violently. The well itself seemed to groan, as if protesting his decision. And before he could take another step, a haunting voice echoed from the depths of the well. "Are you ready to pay the price?" The voice from the well echoed again, louder this time, sending a tremor through the ground beneath Eamon's feet. "Are you ready to pay the price?" Eamon froze, his heart hammering in his chest. He had expected danger, but not like this. The voice was deep, ancient, filled with a sorrow that seemed to seep from the very stones of the well. Slowly, he turned toward the keeper, seeking some reassurance, but the old man had disappeared. There was no one left to guide him. He took a shaky breath and stepped forward, crossing the threshold of the door. The world around him shifted, like stepping through a veil. The ground felt softer under his feet, and the air had a strange, metallic taste. Eamon blinked as his surroundings came into focus. The landscape before him was unlike anything he had ever seen. It was a vast, dreamlike expanse of shifting sand dunes, bathed in a golden light that didn't seem to come from the sun. The sky was an unsettling shade of violet, streaked with clouds that moved unnaturally fast, as if they were alive. The air felt charged with energy, and Eamon could hear faint whispers, like voices calling from far away. In the distance, he could make out what appeared to be a towering city, its jagged spires reaching high into the sky, surrounded by what looked like a shimmering barrier of light. But something about the city felt wrong. The very atmosphere around it pulsed with dark energy, as if it were drawing strength from something hidden beneath the surface. As Eamon began to walk forward, trying to make sense of this strange world, he noticed a figure standing alone near the edge of a dune. It was an old man, even older than the keeper, with long, flowing white hair and eyes that glowed faintly. His robes were tattered, and his posture was bent with age, but his presence was commanding. Eamon approached cautiously. "Who are you?" he asked, his voice trembling slightly. The old man turned slowly, and Eamon's heart skipped a beat. There was something unsettling about the man's smile. It didn't reach his eyes. "I am the guardian of the desires," the man said in a voice that seemed to vibrate in Eamon's bones. "I protect the wishes of those who dare to enter this realm." Eamon swallowed hard. "This place, is it where the well leads?" The guardian nodded. "Yes, the well is not just a well, but a doorway to this world, a world where all desires are granted. But it is not as simple as you think, young one. Every wish comes with a cost, and those who make them must be willing to pay the price." Eamon's mind raced. The stories he had heard about the well all mentioned its magic, but none of them spoke of the consequences. What kind of price would it ask of him? Before Eamon could ask another question, the guardian raised a hand, silencing him. "You seek something from the well, do you not? A wish to restore what has been lost. But know this, the moment you make your wish, something precious will be taken from you in return." Eamon's pulse quickened. What will it take? What must I give? The guardian's smile widened, but his eyes darkened. "That, young one, is something you must discover for yourself. The well grants wishes, yes, but at a cost that can never be undone. You will be tested, your desires, your fears, and your very soul will be laid bare. only the purest of heart may succeed. Eamon swallowed hard, fear creeping up his spine. He had always believed in the magic of the well, but this place, the reality of it, was far darker than he had ever imagined. But there was no turning back now. His village, his people, depended on him. The well had dried up, but he believed it still held the key to saving them. And so, despite the Guardian's warning, he stepped forward, determined to face whatever came. As soon as Eamon moved, the ground beneath him began to shake. The golden light around him grew brighter, more blinding, until he had to shield his eyes. Suddenly, the air grew heavy, and a low, rumbling sound filled the air, like thunder rolling across a distant sky. Then, out of the ground, something began to emerge, dark, twisted shapes that seemed to materialize from the very fabric of the world. Shadowy figures with glowing eyes, their forms shifting in unnatural ways, began to surround him. They were neither human nor beast, but something in between. They were the keepers of the well's dark magic. "You cannot pass unless you face the trial," one of the figures hissed. Its voice was like the rasping of dry leaves in a storm. "To earn your wish, you must defeat us." Eamon's heart raced as the figures closed in. He had no weapon, no way to defend himself. The trial had already begun. The first figure lunged at him, its shadowy claws outstretched, but Eamon reacted instinctively. He ducked and rolled to the side, narrowly avoiding the creature's strike. The air around him crackled with magic as the figures continued their assault. Eamon fought back with nothing but his wits. He didn't have strength or magic on his side, only his determination. He dodged their strikes, finding openings in their movements and using the landscape to his advantage. He couldn't defeat them physically, but he could outsmart them. As he moved through the shifting landscape, dodging the creatures and navigating the strange, ever-changing world, Eamon realized the truth. The well's magic was not just about granting wishes. It was a test of character, a trial of the heart. After what seemed like hours of battling the shadowy figures, Eamon finally reached the heart of the city. The shimmering barrier of light pulsed around him, and as he stepped closer, he could feel its energy calling to him. But before he could pass through the barrier, a voice, his voice, echoed in his mind. "Think carefully, Eamon," it whispered. "What is the cost of your wish?" The figures stopped their advance, their eyes fixed on him. "What will you sacrifice?" they asked, their voices a chorus of whispers. Eamon stood still, heart pounding in his chest. He had made it this far, but now, the true test had arrived. He had to make a choice. What was he willing to lose to restore the magic of the well? What was he willing to sacrifice for his village? With a deep breath, Eamon took one last step forward, ready to face the ultimate price of his wish. And then, the world around him went dark. As soon as Eamon took that final step, the world around him collapsed into darkness. His body felt weightless, as though he was falling through a vast, empty void. The air was thick, and he couldn't breathe, as though the very space around him was crushing him. His thoughts were scattered, and he struggled to hold on to his sense of purpose. All he could hear was the relentless thumping of his heart, and then, nothing. Suddenly, the silence was broken by a soft voice. "Welcome to the price." Eamon opened his eyes. He was no longer in the city or the dreamlike landscape. He was standing in a small, dimly lit room. It looked like an ancient temple, stones worn with age, carvings in a language he couldn't understand. The walls seemed to pulse with energy, and at the center of the room stood an altar with a glowing crystal. The voice continued, "You have made it this far, but now you must make the final choice." Eamon's heart raced. What choice? What is this place? A shadow emerged from the dark corner of the room. It was a figure dressed in tattered robes, the same kind of robes the Guardian had worn, but this figure was different. Its face was hidden, its form indistinct, as if it were a reflection of his deepest fears. "The final test is not about strength, nor about courage," the figure said, its voice chillingly calm. "It is about sacrifice. The question is, what will you give up?" Eamon's mind reeled. "What do you mean? I've already sacrificed so much to get here. My village depends on me." The figure's unseen eyes seemed to pierce through him. "And yet, you have not truly sacrificed. The price is far greater than you can imagine. For every wish, something must be taken. And once the choice is made, there is no going back." Amon's mind flashed back to his village, to the people he loved, the friends he had lost, and the hope he had held onto for so long. All of this, his journey, the well, the strange world he had entered, had been for one purpose: to restore the magic of the well and grant his village the hope it so desperately needed. But now, standing in front of the altar, he realized the harsh truth. The well wasn't just a doorway to wishes, it was a trap. It was a place designed to test not just the strength of one's heart, but the limits of one's very soul. The figure's voice interrupted his thoughts. What will you give up, Amon? A life, a memory, a dream, a piece of your soul? Amon looked at the glowing crystal on the altar. Its light was both beautiful and terrifying, a symbol of everything he desired, but also of the cost that came with it. If he made the wrong choice, there would be no turning back. His wish would come true, but at what cost? Suddenly, everything became clear. Amon's own heart, his very essence, had been bound to the well. The energy that had given him hope and courage had come at a price he hadn't fully understood. The well fed on desires, yes, but it also required something far more precious than any material possession. It demanded a piece of the person who sought its magic, a sacrifice not just of body or mind, but of the very spirit that made them whole. Amon understood now that his village, his home, would not be saved without his sacrifice. If he wished to restore the well's power, to grant his people their desires, he would have to give up the one thing he could never get back: his soul. With trembling hands, Amon stepped forward, placing his hand on the crystal. The room seemed to shift, the walls closing in as the magic of the well swirled around him, demanding a decision. Amon closed his eyes. He thought of the village, the people who needed him. He thought of the love he had for them, the hopes and dreams that had fueled his journey. But then, he thought of the cost. His soul, his very life, was not something he could easily part with. He had always believed in the well, in the idea of restoring what was lost, but now he knew that no wish was worth this price. A tear slipped from Amon's eye as he made his choice. He stepped back from the altar, rejecting the crystal. "I won't sacrifice myself for this." The room seemed to tremble in response. The figure's voice echoed through the chamber, now laced with fury. "You choose to forsake the wish, to leave your village in despair." Amon nodded, his resolve hardening. "I will find another way, a true way, not one that demands the destruction of my soul." The figure seemed to ride in anger, but then, to Amon's surprise, it slowly faded away, disappearing into the shadows. The light in the room dimmed, and for the first time, Amon felt the weight of the well's magic lift. The crystal on the altar cracked, its glow flickering out as the well's power receded. Amon turned and walked out of the temple, leaving the darkness behind. As he crossed the threshold back into the strange world, he heard the voice of the guardian once again. "You have made your choice, Amon. You have rejected the easy path, but you have also embraced your true self. The well's magic is gone now, but your journey is just beginning." Amon found himself back at the well, standing on the edge of the dry stone. The sky above him was now clear, the stars twinkling in the distance. The well, once full of promise, was now just a hollow reminder of what had been. But in his heart, Amon knew he had made the right choice. The real magic wasn't in the well, but in the strength of his heart. He had chosen to walk a harder path, one that didn't rely on shortcuts or easy answers. As Amon made his way back to his village, the first light of dawn broke over the horizon. And though the well was empty, Amon carried within him something far more powerful than any wish. It was the power of hope, and the belief that even the darkest magic could not erase the light of a pure heart. The journey was far from over for Amon, but now, he understood the true meaning of sacrifice, and that sometimes, the most powerful magic comes not from wishing for what we want, but from choosing what is right.